On behalf of IC3, I'd like to welcome Raag Sethi here for giving us an insight into this session on how schools look at, students look at college counseling. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Before I start, actually, I would like everybody to come slightly forward because this is going to be a panel discussion with 3 students. And you guys are going to be talking to them far more than I will. So it'll be really nice if you can come 2 seats at least ahead. So my name is Raag Sethi. I am a teacher at Riverside. And so I'll give you a little context of what we're trying to do over here. Typically in conferences of education and just discussions about education, one stakeholder on that entire process is always left out, the students. And it's always strange for me to consider how can we have a conversation about changing education without having the student or the main stakeholders involved in that conversation. So what we're trying to do over here is sort of introduce that aspect. Yes, please, phones off would be nice. So I've got 3 distinguished panelists over here. These 3 distinguished panelists are going to be students. So these all 3 over here are ex-students of Riverside. They graduated last year. Yeah? 2 years ago. And now they're all pursuing their own passions and stuff like that. The idea of this particular panel is to find out what do we need to do better from their perspective. Having counselors up here talking about counseling and education, I think has happened several times before. But having students demand from us, we need more of this, we don't need more of that, is beneficial on some level, I think. So let's have a round of applause for the panelists over here, 3 students of Riverside. So the way this panel is going to work, we've got about half an hour to 45 minutes of sort of back and forth banter, questions that I would ask them and they would answer. And the last 15, 20 minutes is going to I'm going to leave it up to you guys. So it's going to be a Q&A panel. You guys can ask them questions at any point as well. If you want to ask something in between or a follow-up question of something that I have asked, please feel free to just raise your hand and you can have that conversation. This is going to be really informal, okay? So that being said, let's start with the first particular element of this particular panel. I want all 3 of them to introduce themselves, and I'll start with Raghav.
Hi, I'm Raghav Agrawal I'm studying at HR College of Commerce and Economics, and I'm in TY BMS. And I'm also pursuing snooker and billiards as my passion. So, yeah.
Hi, I'm Dimple Chawla, and I'm studying interior design in Indian School of Design and Innovation, and I'm in my 3rd year.
Good afternoon. My name is Anosh, and I'm an engineering second-year dropout, currently doing my BA and pursuing a career in adventure sports.
Okay, I'd also like to introduce Ankita ma'am over here. She is our counselor at Riverside School, so very specific questions about counseling she'll be able to answer far better than I would. So please,
yeah,
we have
let
Ankita.
me tell you that I'm not that experienced. It's been 2 years into a structured counseling program. So still we are in the prototyping phase. So a lot more to learn from your side also. Thank you.
So yeah, that being said, we've got 4 batches that we've graduated from Riverside, and we've seen relative success with most of the students. And what I want to know from them is how did we manage to do that? Was it by chance? Was it by design? Was it conscious? Was it unconscious? We need to find out those elements. So I'll start off with the simplest question, but also the hardest. At what age did you find your passion? And what was the trigger, for example, for your passion?
Well, I was very sports oriented, and simultaneously I also concentrated on academics. So I picked up my cue at the age of 13 when I started playing, and just for the fun and just because I liked playing, I had interest. But simultaneously I was also swimming, I was also playing table tennis and all these sports. So just how a teenage plays all sports, I picked up my cue at that age. And in I think no time, in a year's time or something, I just developed flair in it and I fell in love with the game. And it just turned out to be that I got completely inclined to it. And I thought that I can, pursue it, I can take it up. But I was also doing my A-levels, AS and A-levels, so which is not easy. So I had to find a balance. So there was that dilemma whether I should continue with playing and, compromise on my academics or, not balance both and continue playing later. So, I thought that was my passion, but I wasn't sure because that time was the time when I couldn't decide. That time my parents wanted academics also and snooker and billiards also. So they wanted me to achieve something, only then would they trust me enough that I can excel into it. But unless you put in that hours and your time, you wouldn't know. So that was the age when I was finding my passion, but I wasn't sure about it. But I think by like 11th or 12th grade, I was pretty sure that I wanted to stay in India and I wanted to pursue billiards and snooker, and I wanted to take up a commerce college. I wanted admission in that college, and where I could spend relative time and also concentrate on snooker and billiards. So probably an emphatic period would be 11th and 12th during that time, which was, I think, pretty late, because if I found that pretty early, like in 8th or something, I would have probably excelled even more. So, it's...
What's your highest break in billiards?
I have like 110 in billiards.
That's a good score for people who don't know what billiards is like. That's a good score, yeah.
So I play that. I play at Hindu Gymkhana, which is at Marine Lines here. So I'm pursuing that.
I think for me, it all started in grade 7, because one of the things that Riverside did for me was give me a lot of exposure to a lot of different and new things that I would never have even imagined to try. And one of those things is a theatrical production that Riverside does every year, and it's called Artist in Residence, where an artist comes from the field and, puts up this theatrical production. And the policy of that entire initiative is basically to also appreciate those people who are working behind the stage and who are not basically just the actors, but who help put up the entire production. So I was one of those people, and for the first time I saw myself being appreciated in front of so many people. And I was in the prop and costume committee at that time, so I was working with a lot of things, and that was the first time that's something that fascinated me so much that I would do it every year after that. But then only in it started all in 7th grade, but then I realized it in around 10th grade, when I knew that this is something that I really want to do. Design is something I really want to do, because design minds are all around me, Kir ma'am being one, and she would get so many great design minds to school that just the interaction between all of them would tell me that probably this is the field that I really want to go in. Otherwise, it was just, doing chemistry and just joining my dad's business because he has a food production factory. So, that was the only option I had in mind. It was not something I knew I would love to do. It was just something, if I didn't find anything else, then that would be the way I would go to. But thankfully, I did find design, and that's what I'm pursuing now.
Well, my journey till about right now has been pretty much mainstream. I was an average student back in school, but very sports oriented. I mean, I used to pick up any random sport I could find during my free time. So, but actually, I did not have much of a chance to go out on a lot of trips due to my studies commitment. But I had this certain love for the outdoors, which did not really spark back then, because I did not get much of a chance due to other commitments. So through high school, it was pretty much, I was a science student. So again, by 9th, 10th, the conversation of where do you want to go to college, what do you want to do, pretty much started. And I was relatively clueless. So I had a few other career options in the outdoors which got cancelled or rejected due to certain conditions, which I did not anticipate. So then as a last ditch option, I just took up engineering and landed up in a couple of years down, I don't know where I landed up. So I could not figure that out for myself. So I definitely knew this is not where I wanted to be. And I could not feel happy. I did not feel happy getting confined within 4 walls of a room for the rest of my life. So I chose to drop out, and I took a couple of courses in the outdoors recently. I completed my basic mountaineering in June, and I got hired because of my sporting talents. I got hired at a company to work as one of their main in charges. So it started all from there, that once I got into it, it was that this is what I want to do. So it started very recently, and my journey forward, I really don't know how it's going to pan out. But that's how I landed up here, and that's what I'm looking to pursue.
So, I mean, there are two sort of things I thought in this whole conversation with them. First, the range in terms of how early and how late they discovered what they thought their passion was. Also, as the keynote sort of speaker suggested, the wolves involved in the world. And for those of you, how many wolves are there in the world according to the keynote speaker? 4. What is the first wolf? Hobby, okay? Hobby cannot be a career, which we can sort of
Yeah.
see happening over there a little. The second wolf? Listen instead of talk, okay? Third, again, same person. Marks and remarkable. Marks doesn't necessarily equal passion. And the last one? Practice what you preach, role modeling. And I think on some level we saw each of you discovered wolves at different stages in your life,
Yeah.
right? And out of all the wolves available in there, there are far more than just 4. But which was your most difficult wolf? The one that you had to fight the most?
For me was, will it be an actual career? Will I be able to go down that road, not really ending up starving, as the chair said. So that was the main thing, because I could not really convince my parents. I'm still not able to convince them that I will be able to get something big out of this. So because my parents actually, they're not excessively towards very fond of sport. So convincing them is a bit of a problem for me.
Like all parents, basically.
Yeah. So yeah, I faced that wolf also.
But still we want Olympic medals, right, in India? Yeah.
So I faced that wolf also. I've faced a lot of fear while making this decision. It still sometimes rattles around in the back of my head. So it wasn't an easy decision, but yeah, difficulties have been there, and hopefully I'll get out of it in one piece. All the best. Thank you.
For me, again, one of them has to be my parents, because my dad is a businessman, like I said. He runs his own company, and my elder sister did psychology. I was doing design. So like he was completely unaware of this field, which was design. And, he saw like he started to see potential in it only once, he went and had like a one-on-one conversation with Kiran ma'am. Because she's somebody because she did design firstly. And second, to convince him that it's okay to, let her go into a field that she totally believes in was a challenging part for him to do and for me to convince him. Because after that, like, I know if I hadn't even began to understand that design was my thing, then I know it would have been too late to, my parents would not have allowed me to, drop out of somewhere and then start something new. That was something that was not happening at all, and I knew that from the beginning. So I just had to be grateful for the fact that I understood design was my thing, and only then I could have convinced my parents, which happened. So I'm glad about that.
Probably my wolf was the balance, to find the balance between academics and sports. So my parents didn't want me to compromise on academics at all. And you know how it is tough, because you need to put in so many hours in sports. So sometimes you tend to be good in both, But if you want to excel in something, you need to like compromise something, right? At a point. So I think till a point, like I think till 12th, as I said, that was my wolf. But then eventually, even as and when I grew and I started focusing on like both, and they also understood that it's time, like he should focus on one. Then it became better. But till then, it was just like all parents want you to be good in academics and everything. So I had to maintain that balance. Otherwise, I couldn't like take it further. And of course, that whether snooker and billiards has a future in India as a sport, whether you can pursue it, can you take it up as your life career or something, or eventually you have to drop out of it and get back to business. So that was also a thing, whether you need to ponder about it, whether you are totally into it, in it or not. So that was also one thing.
Okay, so one consistent wolf is parents. For all 3 examples, the consistent wolf is parents. And here's where we can get like slightly more specific in terms of the counseling perspective. How did Riverside, as a school that you went to, support you in that endeavor? When you were faced with a wolf, which is parents, and parents can be a fairly intimidating wolf, right? How did Riverside come to your aid? Was Riverside at your aid at all? Yeah. So, tell me.
I think Riverside was definitely an aid, because one thing I would like to share is an anecdote. I won't forget this for my life, is that when there were these 10 world billiards champions who came to Riverside School for a coffee at Riverside, just like you might have seen Coffee with Karan. So we have a coffee at Riverside with them. So where it's a show and we host them and we ask them all types of questions, whatever is in our mind, whatever we think we want to achieve or anything. And I was chosen as an anchor for that. Now, that's such a motivating thing. Like I I cannot forget this experience all my life, because so many players who are pursuing billiards and snooker don't even get to speak to them. And I got to have lunch and I got to speak to them. I got to interact with them and everything. Now, when you know your role model, when you can see a role model, you have a goal. So drawing the path becomes a little simpler. And just like that, I shared that experience with my parents. My parents were also happy, like, you got such an opportunity. They can also see what I can be after a couple of years. Now, when you have such a thing, they also, Kiran ma'am definitely always motivated me. They were like, Raghav, you should go for it. Now, Kiran ma'am played a big role in as a teacher, because, like, my parents wouldn't listen to me first. They would listen to mentors first and at school. So, of course, she played a huge role. But I think role model, getting me more interacted to role models and everything was a key thing. And Geet sir, of course, was there since childhood. So then he was very supportive, and he used to help me with anything I wanted. I can go back to him anytime, and he's still my role model. So that's really motivating and encouraging for me.
So in a way, like, having the school provide you with experts in that field in which your passion is supposed to go, helped you sort of realize, and helped your parents also sort of realize that that's what, here's a viable career. Look at him, he's your Olympic champion, or he's a world champion. So there is definitely the possibility there, because we're getting the best people in the field to come and show
Exactly.
For me, like I said, convincing my dad was one of the big wolves I had to face. And I think this is one thing that I always talk about. One of the best things Riverside actually has is this relationship between the three stakeholders, which is the teachers, parents, and the students. Because it all starts as soon as the student comes into Riverside. The teachers have a very, very special bond to each and every student in the school. So sometimes it's before even we know ourselves, the teachers know it. And that's how it was, like, when I came into school. Kiran ma'am knew me before I did, and she helped me discover myself. So at that time, since she knew it before I did, it was easier for her to explain it to my dad that it's okay, that this is where truly her interest and passion lies. So because of that relationship that has been built for so many years, she was capable of doing that. So I think that was one of the most incredible things that happened to me in terms of the counseling perspective, and once I decided what I want to pursue.
Well, when it comes to counseling, for me, it was very informal. I mean, my relationship with Kiran ma'am over the years built up to a very good extent, in the sense that every time I used to speak to her, she could feel that angst in my voice. I mean, because she personally kept telling that, no, do not go down that road. This is not meant for you. You're meant for something bigger and actually better, and not in this field. But actually, it was fear that drove me into the wrong direction. Kiran ma'am personally counseled me a lot regarding this. She kept reiterating the point that your mind is telling you something else, but down there you're feeling, down in your heart, it is not. It is something else. It's not this, at least. So look for different options if you can, but even keep this open. She did not disregard it completely. She's not like, this is not meant for you, so don't go down that or whatever. She said, look for something that you might be more suited in, or you might enjoy doing. You won't be waiting for a weekend off, or like dreading a Monday or going to class. So that part actually for me was very important, because in the end, I mean, I ran out of time, frankly speaking, because it was the end of 12th and I had to make that final decision of where to go. And for my adventure sports career, I did not have much back in that time, because the industry did not build up that much in this country. So I made a decision out of haste, and once, like 2 years passed. I had a couple of rough years in college. So 2 years passed, and by the end of my third semester, I couldn't do it anymore. So I call up home, and actually not even home, I call up Kiran ma'am first, that I'm thinking of dropping out. What do you think? And she said, the exact words she gave was, finally you're talking sense. So those three words were the most important ones she ever told me. Because after that, it has been slightly difficult, but yeah, that's expected. But it's getting me down the right path, I feel. So she played a very important role, and that too indirectly, very indirectly. I didn't even know I was getting counseled. So yeah, that was my journey for the counseling.
So speaking of that, your relationship with your counselor, right? In this case, Kiran ma'am all three of you were counselled by Kiran ma'am. I remember, at least I went to Woodstock, and I remember the only times I would meet my counselors if I needed what sort of admission process I required for a university I was applying to, or I would go meet the counselor for specific information about another university. Your sessions with the counselor, with Kiran ma'am in this particular case, were informal. I mean, were not sort of scheduled. You said you didn't even feel you were being counseled at that point, right? So it's not these structured, scheduled moments in which you go meet with the counselor, get your advice and leave, right? For all three of you, it was like that?
Yeah. When I played tournaments also and all, she used to keep grilling me. Like, what's the update about your tournaments? How are you going around? And it was happening on the back of my mind that, when a teacher keeps asking you, when Kirmam's asking you, I'm getting more inspired, I'm getting more motivated to perform. And she said that you can go for it. And ultimately, I just had to decide whether it was there or no. But it was happening during the 9th, 10th, 11th. And, because she also knew that I was really into it. So, when she noticed that, she trusted. And I was still figuring it out, whether, I can or not. So that was really helpful.
Okay. Now, speaking from that same counseling perspective, how early is too early is sort of a question I think some counselors think. When should we start officially counseling kids in terms of, okay, now it's grade 8, you're at the age in which you have to start talking about university for now. So how early is too early for you? When did you guys officially start being counseled? Do you remember?
I think, I don't know, this is just one incident that I can think of, because I entered Riverside in 5th grade. So before that, I was in another school. And like a lot of students say that over there, I didn't have an identity. My teachers knew me as my elder sister's sister, who basically didn't perform as well as her. And that was one. And how I was just some number. So nobody knew my name. But as soon as I came to Riverside, suddenly the number reduced. In my other school, there were 54 of them, 54 students in one class. Suddenly the number reduced by half. And this is all in 5th grade. And I was being noticed more. The teachers were asking me questions. And I was just so afraid to, raise up my hand and even answer it. We had a jam session, just a minute, where I had to talk about snowflakes. I remember this very vividly. And I just started crying because I didn't have the confidence to even talk in front of 23 people. And right now I can sit in front of a lot of people and just keep talking. To have that fear removed within me, now I can say is also counseling, because you sort of just remove that fear from within to actually talk about yourself and talk so passionately about what you actually love. So I think as soon as there is no age that you can specifically start counseling a student, I feel, because you can learn so much because of that relationship that's being built with the teachers, and between even how the teachers are building up that relationship with your parents, because only then will it finally, be shown as sort of a result once you graduate or once you see yourself pursuing your passion.
So the role of a counselor was not just the counselors.
Yeah.
All the teachers were involved in your particular circle. Okay. And speaking about how well Riverside maybe prepared you for college, post-Riverside, how was your transition going from Riverside to college? How well did Riverside prepare you for the life afterwards?
Life skills.
1 second.
Guys, making it more specific, we want certain instance, a short story which helped you to understand that the transition from school to college was really easy. So, it was the best fit career for you that you realized once you entered the college.
I think that it is as simple as the classroom activities and attending lectures. Now, there are, in all colleges, when there are too many people tend to take back seats and everything. And why do you want to sit ahead? Teachers may want to ask and all. But I never had that notion. We were 20 of us in a class in Riverside. Now in that, if you're sitting back or front, we are going to get noticed any which way. I was so used to it that I was let's sit in the front, good enough, we'll get more attention. Otherwise we don't. And then people used to be what, you're sitting in the front and all. And there were times, and this has really happened to me, that there's this teacher, she teaches us economics, and after every lecture she picks up 1 or 2 students to summarize the lecture. Now this has happened a lot in Riverside, and I've been very used to it. Now people hide themselves because they don't want to be caught and all, and then you get extra attendance for this. So I lucked out even more. So she asked she asked once, and it was easy and all, but it was really shocking for other people. Now, in that, it was so natural for me that there I thought that, how Riverside has embedded this in me, that if I have to like speak in front of in front of a class and I have to summarize or teach anything, it's gonna come really naturally to me. And for everyone else, it's gonna be something new. So that's when I realized that how Riverside played an important role in shaping me and holistically developing me, not only in like writing and academics, but everything else. Because I have one more thing that people don't reason in when they are in college, like all the orthodox, they don't reason why man's saying that. Now, if man's writing all on the blackboard, they're also copying it, but they're not asking what it means and then writing it, and that's a big difference, I think. And what Riverside has done is that if they introduce any topic, they get it out of students. They make you solve a problem, and that's the topic, the solution. So when students do it themselves, they question a lot more than what is being taught, and that's a really good exercise, I think, which should be implemented, and even other places. So I think that's somewhere that I think the classroom studies and activities really helped, and I thought that I had an edge over others, probably.
So fear was not a wolf that you experienced when you went to
Yeah.
college because of the experience at Riverside.
Yeah.
Okay.
I already mentioned this earlier that because of Kirmam and the environment we all stayed in, I had the opportunity to interact with a lot of great design minds. So when I went to college, all my faculty and professors were from a design field and who were practicing as well in their own design fields. So in first year, they would, before you start any project, they'd give us a brief. And for me to understand that brief was very simple because of how Riverside is, because in Riverside, every problem is solved through design thinking. So even if I'm studying design thinking, both of them will design, they both will still know what the design thinking is about, because it's this thing that has been like a philosophy and has been drilled inside us. So like without us knowing also. So when they talk about, it was as simple as when the teacher asked us to, like the professor asked us to make a mind map. And I just instantly started making it. And all the teachers, like all the students around me were like, what's a mind map? And I was like, this is something that Riverside teaches the students all the way in 3rd grade or even 1st grade. And to know, it was just a shock that, like, how can somebody not know what mind maps are? Because it's such a simple concept that it's just about, which just takes all your thoughts and, organizes them in the most simplest manner. But all these tiny things have made me realize that all of these things that basically help you solve a problem, or just the way classes are held, like you said, helped me so much in the space also, because I was suddenly in a class of 75 students. And it was not like they broke the entire class down into batches of 20 or 25. So like instantly, because I always had my hand raised in all classes, because I always just wanted to know much more than even what the teacher was providing, and that like annoyed the students also, because I had my hand raised up for everything, and the teacher had to like ask me to not do that, because so other people got a chance to talk. So I think that really helped me even in college, because that's something I took away from Riverside very intangibly and without even noticing that this is what I'd actually gained from it.
Well, Riverside prepped me in actually a very different way, in the sense, in a holistic way. For example, when I entered Riverside, I personally did not have the ability to hold a conversation with an individual. Even an individual, forget talking in front of a group, was like something way beyond. So Riverside pushed me out of my comfort zone in every little thing. Something as simple as talking to someone. And when I went down to college and graduated from school, it had become so easy for me to hold a conversation that like around everyone else around me, I did not have that fear of being judged or being questioned. Because even if we don't have the answer, the worst you can say is you don't have the answer and you'll figure it out. Or give an answer later in the day. So because of this, actually, I got, in my very first year, I got selected for an international conference. To present at an international conference, I had to present my professor's paper. So he just walked up to me once in the middle of class. We were doing our own assignment. He walks up to me in the middle of class and says, I need someone to present my paper. at an international conference. And I'm like, I have no idea what it's about. I have not studied that because I was in my first year. And that paper was actually a fourth year student's paper that my sir had done with him. So I did not know what to do exactly. He said, I will explain the concept to you, but I don't think anyone else will be able to present it as well as you will. So he handed me second author of that paper, just because I was able to present it. So that's what I'm saying. Riverside prepped me in a lot of very minute ways, which eventually turned out to be one of the most helpful things for me down after school.
So the counseling was not just the admission requirements of colleges, but values and ethics and
something you can add. Yeah.
Those elements are required for you to smoothen transition once you go to college. On the flip side, what did Riverside not prep you for? What is something that you went to college and realized, man, I wish I had at least one session on this, or like nobody told me this is what it's going to be like? Where were the gaps?
Well, talking from my personal angle, it was the problem was the entire system. I was not prepared at all to enter a system where I had to cram what I write. Like cram to such an extent that it's something that can be easily explained within 3 to 4 lines. I had to stretch to 5 to 6 pages. And literally, I was really not prepared for that. And the first assignment I got, my teacher, I gave it to him and he's like, what is this? I'm like, I just wrote whatever I know. He said, no, you don't have to do that. I gave you a particular spreadsheet, a particular document. You have to just replicate that. Just don't write what you think. That is what he actually told me. And I could not really take that in. In the beginning, I really couldn't take that in because I was so used to thinking for myself and not having someone feed me like ready-made information. So that was one thing I really wasn't prepared for, like that system, getting into that system, personally.
It's very simple for me because if you visit our school, Riverside, it's a very open space. Like literally, it's a very open space because it has a huge garden. Like Irma was talking earlier, there are no barriers as such. You can go from one room to the other whenever you want. Like we have gone in the night at 11 a.m., we just played cricket the entire night and we still do that. And then go back early morning because the space is so accessible for us and so open and so colorful that it just happens to be a space that where we want to learn. Like it's a space where we will go even without our parents forcing us to go in the bus early in the morning. We will just go, like we will just get up in the morning and want to go there. But Bombay being a city which has very limited space, to suddenly go in a vertical campus which was not open, it's a corporate building, very well lit up, but still you can find in those within those 4 walls, which was slightly difficult in the beginning for me because like to have that shift in terms of how the interiors of the space was there, suddenly you have that mindset that it's too big of a change literally, because to settle down in that space, to understand how you sort of just have to adapt to the fact that you have to learn in the space because I knew I wanted to design. That's why it got easy for me to adapt to the space because I was finally doing something that I love. So it didn't matter anymore after like a month or 2 where I understood that it's okay that I'm within those walls. And that's why I still, like, even when I go back to the city in Ahmedabad, I visit school anytime I want. Like, I have to go back because the space is so beautiful, so green. It lightens you up and like brightens your mood completely. So I think as simple as space affected me a lot.
I think they both summed it up really well because I have faced both these problems. Now, HR college, it's, you know how space is limited in town and all. And even I moved to vertical campus. It's very difficult to study in such a campus because campus really, it really adds to the students' well-being. Now, you feel part of your college, you feel part of your school. As she said, her school was like a second home to us. If you want to go there, then you want to study, and it really helps you build. And as Anush said, cramming and all, that's also one thing, because there's this word called dhapofying, which I came across. Now a lot of people will be able to relate to it. And when I wrote my papers, after that I figured out, when my friends told me that, bro, you don't have to write so less. You have to fill the page. You have to dhapofy. And I was like, what is dhapofy? He's like, you have to just fill pages and write in pointers and, because in A levels I know that very vividly that even if we wrote anything out of context, that question wasn't checked. Like, we had to be really precise and really to the point. So I've never experienced that. But since I chose this college, since I chose this whole place, I got adapted to it. Like, I had no choice, but it took me no time to get adapted to it. So from next semester, I was on it because I chose it. So, yeah.
Okay, I actually want to ask one question to Ankita ma'am over here because she's the actual counselor who goes through this every single day. How often do you meet with parents of the kids, for example? Because like we said, parents are a huge wolf and a huge obstacle when it comes to dealing with things. And typically, at least again, I'm just speaking out of my experience, like the conversation that the counselor would have would only be with me. The counselor would never talk to my parents about if I wanted to pursue music. They're not going to call up my parents and be like, yeah, make your son pursue music. That's not an opportunity over there. But what are your experiences?
I believe in a structured way, which we have just started. So 2 to 3 interventions which we have. So it's not basically only student and a counselor. It is more about getting feedback from the teachers also. So at that point of time, we have teachers involved because as you know that Riverside, we focus more on the interest of the child, which we get to know only from their practical, applications, how there is a focus in the class, how they're actually implementing or applying the concepts which they are learning. So the direct interaction with the parent and the teachers is very helpful. So I believe teacher feedback is something very important which we are considering at Riverside. So I am definitely not taking a credit as a counselor and it's too early for me, but I believe teachers themselves are a best counselor. Yeah.
Yeah, because they know them well enough. They've had the most interactions with them as well, right? So the hopefully by the end of this, we're sort of reaching our Q&A mark right now. Hopefully by the end of this panel, we want to come up with maybe 3 or 4 strategies that sort of but that you are suggesting to all of us as counselors, as shepherds, as the keynote speaker sort of suggested. The 3 or 4 strategies in terms of, okay, if you do this now, this will automatically and immediately benefit students and their ability to then move on after Riverside or after whichever school. So if you can each give one strategy, one thing that you guys went through that was the most beneficial to you.
I think just like how I faced implementing role model strategies, getting role models, getting students access to them, getting them to interact with them, because you never know how one line or one habit of that role model can inspire that person. It could be in any field, sports, and because of that, they'll be able to have confidence that, of course, there is a huge path, there is scope in this field. So for me, as I mentioned, that was the thing, and I think that the more it is for more people, that will inspire them, that will motivate them, and probably they will be able to take that as careers and not only take those conventional careers as ma'am talked about, engineering and doctors. So, and like that, I think society will also change because probably parents will also get more aware about such careers or career options and how their child can excel into it. So yeah, I think that will play a huge role in the as a strategy.
Yes. So yeah.
So when you said expert intervention, which we have at Riverside, it's more about a kind of reality check which is required for the child. That actually you need to know how the profession looks like. Yeah. So moreover, to understand how your journey from passion to profession looks like. Yes. Am I correct?
Yeah, because when you see all these people, you think that you have done nothing in life. You want to do something in life. And that's what triggers you again and again. Like, what are you right now? When you meet designers, when you're meeting sports all over, like from billiards, snooker, wrestlers, cricketers, everything. Now, it was really an inspiring, like all the talks, all the coffee at Riverside, everyone who came, visited us, it was really inspiring. It could be in other fields also. I remember when Howard Gardner came, he has, in his own field of studies and education, he's reached such a level. Now his insights are truly, like, they're really inspiring. The experiences he shares and all. So it's not that I want to pursue that, but it's like I want to be something where I can talk about later on.
So I think sometimes what happens is that you don't even know what you are And so we profess this a lot at Riverside in terms of you start off thinking, okay, I'm a science student or I'm an engineering student. So right from grade 8, grade 9, they're like, okay, that's what I have to go to pursue. PCM I have to do, and then I'm sort of move over. But when you have so many people of so many different fields coming to you, it exposes your ability to then sort of rationalize for yourself, oh, wow, I didn't even know that that was a profession that existed and a profession that could be done so well.
Yeah.
Right? So expert intervention is definitely one thing that benefited you. Right?
Remember film school, how many people started because directors,
That's right.
actors used to come and all.
That's right.
And how many people took up photography and film as their career option?
So yeah, that's true.
It is also about going beyond your comfort zone. Sometimes you believe that, no, I'm good at this, so maybe this is the right thing. But when you actually get to know that what kind of skill set is required, that is a kind of reality, realization that, no, this is something, I have to look at it.
Yeah, sometimes it's the opposite. Like they'll believe, yeah, I want to be an engineer, but then an engineer will come and tell you exactly the amount of work that is required. Like, okay, no, I don't want to be an engineer for sure. That's not designed for me. I'm not aligned to that. And you're right. We had a couple of directors and actors to come and do our expert intervention, and 4 students immediately after that were like, yeah, I want to be a director now, or I want to be an actor.
Film school.
Film school they applied to.
And school has never been reluctant in getting them in touch with them. I remember 1-2 people, they said that, ma'am, I just want to shadow them. I don't want to do anything. I just want to shadow them. I want to see how their life is. I want to see if if I have that interest,
what it takes.
if I can pursue it. And then if I have that completely, I'm ready to do anything. I'm ready to go to Prague, or how students have gone and staying away from their family and getting down to anything. Now, that's something that got into them.
I think for me it's just how early it started. Like we were talking about earlier, how you can start as soon as the student comes into your school, because the faster it is, like the earliest it is, it's better for the student, because the student might not realize it, but the teacher might. Like my dad still till date, even though I'm a design school, he'll still ask me, what do you want to become? Like I'm like, I don't have an answer for that. I know it's going to be a designer. It might be a production designer or behind films. Like it could be anything, but he's okay with that answer right now because he knows I like what I do. So if it's the earliest it starts, the better it is for us, for the parents, and it doesn't really stop after we graduate also. Like I'm pretty sure for him it never stopped after he graduated. It continued, and that's why we keep going back to Riverside as well. Even though when I go back to Ahmedabad, I go back to Riverside because of the amount of time and energy and amount of love that's invested in me from the school, from the teachers, that I believe that I have to give back because I really want to. Because the counseling still hasn't stopped. Like I can still call up Kir ma'am or any of the teachers for any help that I want, whether it's about just something that I need help in academically in my college or just something that I'm going through in life. I think that's it. Start as early as you can, and it just doesn't, like it hasn't ended. The counseling still hasn't ended for us. And it's also about how it's not just in one room where a counselor calls you and your parent and, talks about that, okay, this is what you want to do. These are the colleges. These are the applications. These are the deadlines. You have to fill them out. It's just about how the entire initiatives, all the events and all the movements that Riverside asks you to do, the new things that Riverside asks you to do from as early as grade 3 or 5, only then you will realize where your interest truly lies. It's not within those confined room with what counselor asking you in 10th grade what you really want to do.
Well, I feel like, as a suggestion to all you fellow counselors, when someone comes to you for counseling, a student, mainly a student, just try to look for something that makes him or her stand out. Because eventually when you step out into the world, that one thing that makes you unique from the rest of the pack is what you can turn into something as a very lucrative career, frankly speaking. Because that one thing that you're very good at is eventually what you will want to do or you'll love to do. Because it might be a hidden talent or it might be something you discover much later on. But it is something that will drive them onto the right path. That's what I personally feel.
Right. So, yeah. Huh?
I would like to share this. So we've started this program which is called Life Skills in School, where we learn about, like, we learn stuff which is away from academics, like when your tire's punctured, how to repair that, cooking, or all these extra activities. Now this is nothing but this helps you to bridge that gap between school and college. Now the transition period, if that's smooth enough, it gives the child confidence. It gives the student a confidence and gives their parents confidence that, okay, he's independent enough to, go ahead. And like Sir also mentioned in his earlier thing, that a person who comes out confident from school and all is going to bring 10 more students in the school. And person who's not going to find a way out after school will not encourage 10 others to come to that school. So if he's confident enough, competent enough, and independent to be in the world by himself, nothing better than that. So these life skills can be anything. So all these are the strategies.
Yeah, so I think these suggestions are there purely to design programs better for students. And that's hopefully what this panel is supposed to be about, right? So any questions? Anybody has questions? Yes.
Hi, good evening, ma'am. My question is to the counselor. He was sharing that all the faculties are real counselors, and through them we get to know what a student is really, what are his interests, etc. So I just want to understand, do you have a feedback system? Is a structured way? How do you interact with them? Say, sort of a format where they fill in this information, or you have a one-to-one with them? How do you gather this information?
It depends on the kind of, definitely we have one-on-one session with the teachers also, because the kind of preparedness as a counselor you need to have, it should be very much apt. So, I have one-on-one dialogue with the teachers, understanding the academic front also, but inclining the understanding of the child. However, the child might be doing very well. He or she is getting 90%. But what about the application, and going out of the domain, which is somewhere you can get to know only from a teacher. So which is a very valuable input, because as a career, if you want to decide, that reality check is required, that whether if you want to be an engineer, you have to, somewhere you have to be on more hands-on. You have to be more in terms of going out of the domain also, not only concept-wise, because as you talk about stepping out of the world, it should, now today's world is more about, application, not only concept. One-to-one faculty, and when we talk to parents, we do involve teachers, so that whatever anxiety the parent has, it can be sorted at the same page. That maybe this career, it is documented. We have a constant follow-up with all the parents in terms of the meeting, whatever we are having, and with the teachers also. Yes, yes.
We also had a session in the morning about these career tests which are being conducted in the institute. Do you also have this kind of system where you conduct to understand their aptitude?
Again, we are privileged to be a very small school. So when we talk about tests like psychometric test, we are not 100% relying on that. We do consider that in terms of knowing the skill set and attitude of the child, and on that basis, aligning all the feedback which the teacher is sharing to us, and also considering the child's interest, that is passion. Again, when we talk about that, we talk about various exposures, internships to be provided to the child. So, yeah.
Yeah, and since we're a small school, sort of teacher evaluation is far more accurate as the metrics that we use rather than psychometric tests, right? So we're very fortunate to have that particular aspect. Any questions to the students, perhaps? How many people use psychometric tests to evaluate attitudes or skill sets or alignment of careers? Sure.
We use psychometric tests. I'm at Step by Step Noida, and before this, 2 months back, I was at Doon School. We do use psychometric tests, and that is only a way to make sure that parents do not go out to someone else and use a test which is not actually validated. So the test that we did was only as we found a compromise, because all of them, there was such a demand for psychometric tests from the parent body that we did a psychometric test, but the counseling was done by the counseling office. So we did not let outsiders come into the office and do the counseling. We would hold the report and counsel them on the basis of what we felt with the marks, the teachers' reports, and of course, because it was a boarding school, it was much easier for us to see the students in different settings, on the playground, at the field, drama, music, just regularly while having a meal. So I think that really helped us counsel them better than an outsider coming for 20 minutes and finishing a counseling session. So we used it for that reason. But otherwise, believe me, I've done clinical psychology, I've done all of it, but it's, you ask a child and they'd say that, oh, I just copied from him. Ma'am, I was cogging. That's a word that we used in Noon. So, ma'am, I cogged it. And so you can't actually, they weren't serious about it. So you can't use that to be a measure of someone's aptitude and interest or whatever they would need to do.
That's when you need to counsel parents because
Yes.
at university level, a parent will come and say, this is my child's psychometric report.
Yes, I know.
You're like, it's not a disease, you're not going to show it to me. It's fine.
Yeah.
But you know, it's very cool, which is why schools like them in Vasant Valley and the other schools, they have such an incredible system in place, much like yours at home as well. But more and more parents need to be counseled, and that's something across the board that all schools should do, is call parents in and tell them this concept is an indicative. It's not everything. Your child is going to be a chef, isn't on a piece of paper that
Yeah.
you copied from a friend 3 years ago.
Exactly. So I think also we never handed out the report to the child or to the parent. We always kept it with us. We sent our report out, just trying to control, trying to find a compromise, because it is, they are, they come from their set of values, and they're hearing from 20 other people, driven that, oh, my school has done a career test, has your school? I mean, I have a Louis Vuitton bag, do you? So it just went on to that, and I think that's how we kind of...
There are two things that I actually like to mention as far as that's concerned. One thing we hate at Riverside is when a student tells us what kind of student they think that they are. Based on either a psychometric test, based on the fact that my family is doing this, we hate it. We hate it when the student comes to us and says, oh, but I'm an engineer kind of student. You don't know that. You don't even know what that means. You don't know the plethora of different options available to you. So that's one thing. We don't succumb to the pressure of both the student and more importantly, the parent. Sometimes, and actually more often than not, as Deepa ma'am will tell you, is that we actually are fighting with the parents, convincing them, no, I mean, he's not an engineer. That's just not who he is. We don't succumb to that pressure because we have that insight of the student in terms of the academics and the personality that maybe the parent doesn't have. Because a lot of the time the student spends time in school. The teachers know these kids inside and out. So a lot of the time when a teacher comes to us, a parent comes to us and says, no, but please put some sense into my son, make him this thing. The other thing happens, like the teacher and the student gang up and sort of attack the parent. No, that's not who he is. You're making him do something he doesn't enjoy. It's as simple as that. You don't like it, go to a different school. We're not going to support choices like that. That's not something that that we are designed to do. Yes.
Yeah, hi, I'm Rubina. I'm from the Vasant Valley School. And I have to, appreciate the all three of you. It was really nice. And especially you, Anush, the way you began, you said that I'm a second-year dropout. Hats off to you. Because I'm not sure if I would have been able to do that. How many of us in the room would have been able to do that? I think, I work with the senior school, and I see this, that the kids take themselves very seriously. They've sort of lost a sense of humor somewhere, or there is too much of college is a part of your life. It's not your life, right? Of course, it's a big part of your life, but it's not going to decide who, or it doesn't define you as a person. And this is something that I personally struggle to sort of speak to the parents about, and that's where that's something that I've felt over my time at Vasant Valley, that you have to really sit down with the parents, because this is something that is very much a family's decision. It involves so much. It involves sending your kid out to very, very far away. It's a big investment. It's a family decision. So I think somewhere you have to really involve the parents. Have a lot of, like we at Vasant Valley, we don't have any psychometric testing, because as a school policy, we don't believe in any of that. We don't believe that it defines anyone, or it sort of measures kids in any way. So we actually have a lot of reflective exercises that I do with the kids one-to-one as well as with the parents. And we start off, I I think in class 10, yeah, we start off in class 10 and we sort of expose them to as many activities, as many people, alums coming, children, students who, who've been in bus and who are placed in other colleges or who've actually been in a college, dropped out, and whatever. So we bring in people from all sort of walks of life to speak to the kids and really give them an idea and tell them that, college is great. It's going to be a big part of your life, but don't take it up as something that's going to measure you as a person.
Or define your career.
Or define your career. There's life. You have a long life ahead of you, and there's lots more to do. So, we only do this because we see that class 11 and 12 is anyway so heavy on academics, and then you're trying to do extracurricular. I have to do community service. I have to do this because it looks like this on my application. I think somewhere we really have to reflect on: are we a vending machine? Are we turning into these vending machines, just children with CVs, or are we really looking at children who are going to be people, or adding to the community?
Thank you. Yeah, and I think we have maybe one or two more questions. I would highly recommend you guys to ask them questions because leverage their experience as much as you can right now.
I'm Tanushree. I'm from Shivnagar School, Gurgaon. Something which is very, very interesting when you all shared was internship. Now, that definitely gives an understanding of, as ma'am also said, that it's a reality check, to bridge the gap between your passion and profession. So either you can answer or ma'am can answer that how do you format it to be, this as a success for the school. Otherwise, it's just going to be a tick mark that they're being sent for the internship for 2 weeks or 1 week or whatever. But how can it be a success for the school to understand?
I would like to answer that. You're from Gurgaon, right? So I did an internship at Desai and Devanji law firm, if you are aware of that firm. And I remember this was in 11th grade, summers, and we were supposed to do an internship. And my parents really wanted me to explore this law field, which I wasn't really aware about, but they wanted me to take it up and not take up commerce. So, I spoke to Kiramam about it, and I said that, she really wants me to go for it, but I don't know anything, and how can I crack it? So I got in touch with this law firm, and I interned there, and I figured out in those 20 days of my internship that this is not my cup of tea, and that's when I gave my parents also the opportunity and the space to, advise me and tell me about that. But then I told them my whole experience, and that's how they told me that, okay, all right, now you can go with something like that. So an internship that time didn't play a role as a tick mark for me in my CV, but it played a role for me to not choose a right career option. Because if I chose law, I wouldn't be attending college at all because I wouldn't be interested in it, and I would probably drop out after school.
Actually, the way the internships sort of work, we sort of incorporate it as part of classes as well. So business studies, for example, we do something called the business challenge. And was it your grade, did the razzmatazz? Right? So this was a business studies class. And what they had to do is they had to create a challenge in terms of creating a new flavor of ice cream. That was the challenge, right?
Christmas challenge.
It was a Christmas challenge, and they had to create a new flavor of ice cream. And in order to do that, they had to go pitch it to Have More. So we had Have More come on board as part of this particular project. And it was like an internship with Have More, but as part of a class, as part of a school class. So business studies is one we did. We do this for math challenges. We do this for all our challenges. We incorporate these internship opportunities as part of the grade that you get in your classroom. So it's not this extracurricular, it happens outside school domain. It happens as part of the grade. So how long did you guys take? 2 months to do the razzmatazz thing? 1 month?
4 or 5 weeks.
4 weeks. 4 or 5 weeks. Just over a month. From conception to the pitch, so they had to go pitch it to Have More. There were reps from Have More who came. They were talking about flavors. They were talking about what manufacturing procedure you would use, right? So they had to show the account book because it was a business studies class. But it was also at the same time an internship with Have More. So combining a subject with that internship sort of shows that this is part of what you're learning. This is not a separate internship. It's isolated from my subjects and what I'm learning. Grade 10. Grade 10, they went and they actually sold it. They had a limited edition flavor that they sold in Christmas called the Razzmatazz. They had to do the PR, they had to do the logo, they had to do everything from scratch. And
Hammer actually implemented it.
Hammer they actually produced this for how long? It's still on the menu.
Yeah.
This flavor, if you go to have more in Ahmedabad, it's still on the menus, and they are responsible for creating it. And it was part of what? A business studies class. So I think that's one way you can sort of systemize it. And we do this every year. Every year we have a business challenge, and there are different businesses sort of that we take over as well. Yeah, it's not a tick mark as a CV. It's something as part of required of class, not something that happens later. Yeah.
There are children who might be interested in, say, research, and who are going and see labs and work with labs. So there are different opportunities that are given. It starts in grade 9, most probably in the summer vacation. There are some that as a school we can offer because of the parent body that we have, because we make sure that the space is safe. We have girls going, boys, whatever. So we use our parent body a lot for this. And in case they still have, we also ask their own parents, the students' parents, to figure out other internships. We are not able to manage those options. And to make sure that it's just not a tick mark, a lot of reflective prompts are given to children when they are going through this and that. And then a lot of time is spent when they come back on understanding what they felt about that space, the people they were working with, the fact that what they had started off with to now has it changed in a manner of what they believed that career was, all of those. So a lot of time spent on the reflection. So reflective component is a very important.
So the experience of the internship comes back to the school. It's not isolated as a separate example. I think, yeah, we're out of time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed their experiences and their anecdotes. Can we have another round of applause for our lovely panelists? Thank you, all three of you, for coming and sharing your insights about what we need to do better to help you guys, yeah? Thank you again so much, and I'll just leave it over.
Thank you, Raag, and thank you, students, for this wonderful experiences that you've shared. And on behalf of IC3, I'd like to...
Oh, thank you so much. Yes. This is what I came for, right? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.